Welcome everybody, Souldin of the Grin Bros here, and it's time for another episode of Tea Time. Now then, getting right into it, today's tea is passion tea, which I mistook for poison tea when I first got it. I got it as a little freebie from T2 when I bought several other T2 teas. You may notice that this isn't what I was foreshadowing before with my teas, and that's because this is a different tea time than what I had planned to do. I planned to have a fairly sort of important tea time later on, where I plan to show you where I plan to drink a much more interesting tea than what I've got here. Though to be fair, this is going to be quite interesting because I have no idea what kind of tea it is, whether it's I think it's a herbal tea of some kind, but because I had no idea what it is, I decided to add milk to it. And that seems to be like the biggest mistake of my life, because it didn't blend together. The milk is just kind of all, gone to the top of the tea, and so it just looks like out-of-date milk is being added to my tea with little white flecks all around it. It's a purple white flecked monstrosity which smells really strange, so I'm really, really worried about this tea I'm going to be trying out today. Really worried. Anyway, for today's tea time, I once again do not know the title of it because I can't decide whether I want to go with the difficulty dilemma because that has a nice bit of alliteration, or whether I want to go for the difficulty seesaw, or problematic seesaw, because frankly the latter sounds much more amusing. I may go with the latter on the case that it's much more amusing, but I am a big fan of alliteration. In any case, today's tea time, which I've quickly sprung together, is addressing the issue of difficulty in video games. And what brought this on is that, as you can probably notice, the recent uploads have been focused on Super Bomberman R. And during the conclusion of Super Bomberman R, which won't have been uploaded at the time of this tea time, but it's not exactly a spoilerish thing to note here, is that I end up making a comment about the difficulty of Super Bomberman R. Super Bomberman R, back before its patch update, I really need to try out the game post-patch, but prior to its latest downloads and patches, Super Bomberman R, despite being a game that has the perfect ability to appeal to kids, the characters and stories are all kid-friendly and very charming, and it's a really good I think it'd be a really good IP for Konami to focus on in terms of appealing to children, because there aren't many sort of children-focused video games nowadays, and I feel Super Bomberman R is a perfect one for it. However, the main obstacle towards the ability to appeal to a younger audience is that Super Bomberman R is, at the time, was ridiculously difficult. There was no way to alter the multiplayer AI, and their standard difficulty was pretty hard. You could alter the difficulty of the levels in the story mode, however the bomber opponents weren't changed by whether you went beginner, normal or hard. They remained frustratingly difficult. And I feel in order to actually get, to draw people in, particularly a younger audience, you need to have a balance in difficulty, managing to be both easy enough to appeal to a younger audience and hard enough to provide people a challenge, including that same younger audience. And there are many ways to address this. Of course, the most obvious one is a difficulty slider, having the choice between easy, normal, hard. This is honestly something that should be a standard in all games, really. The choice of difficulty always helps out. And of course, Super Bomberman R's problem was that option was not available for both the multiplayer and it was not available for the bosses. The story mode could be altered in difficulty, but the rest of it couldn't. And so, thankfully, the post-patch has addressed this issue, and I'm going to do a playthrough of Super Bomberman R to find out how well this is done later on, but, outside of recording. The only reason I haven't been doing so is I've been playing Puyo Puyo Tetris that I got recently, and doing the Nanka's Pokemon Miiverse adventure, playing through Pokemon Yellow and all that. Speaking of Puyo Puyo Tetris, I remember back in the day when Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine came out. We played it on the Sega Classic Collection instead, Mega Gem Collection I think it was, and that game is frustratingly difficult. It's basically a palette swap of Puyo Puyo 2, and it was insanely difficult. So I was very thankful to find that Puyo Puyo Tetris is much more fair in its difficulty, because going against a normal level AI, I was actually able to win a match in the Puyo Puyo mode, which I wasn't expecting. They've balanced the difficulty a lot, and they've made it a lot more accessible in my opinion. Even as something that I found, even from only my brief time playing the game. And the fact that I'm terrible at puzzle games, I love the Puzzle League series, but I'm really, really bad at puzzle games. It's not my sort of thing. Though, ironically, I've been Rafi at more puzzle games during Grin Brothers, and he's being me at more fighting games. So there's some sort of parallel dimensional work going on with our recording videos and how we actually play outside of recording, really. Another way to address the issue of difficulty is co-op. This isn't a perfect way of addressing it, because the problem with co-op is sometimes it can also make things harder. Superman R is a particular instance where sometimes the co-op helps a lot, and sometimes it results in the other person being killed. This is mainly due to the issue of friendly fire. Another case where co-op makes things harder is when you have Rafi with a fire rod during playing Legend of Zelda 4 Swords Adventures, because Rafi proceeds to set the grass on fire and murder everyone. Streets of Rage is a lot easier on co-op, but so long as you organise yourself, because otherwise, friendly fire, you'll end up kicking your teammates in the head. Another game, but this one thankfully without friendly fire, that was made much easier because of friendly fire, and I was able to enjoy it to a degree when I was younger, despite its insane difficulty, Altered Beast. I was able to play through the first 3 levels of Altered Beast because I could have someone more experienced playing alongside me. Co-op is very helpful in being able to make a game easier without even adjusting the difficulty. Of course, provided that friendly fire isn't an aspect to it, because friendly fire will immediately make any co-op game that should be made easier through having a partner much harder, unless you're perfect at coordinating each other. But frankly, when it comes to brothers working together, that is never the case. You're going to end up killing each other. That's part of the fun, really. But, okay, so those are some ways to address the issue of difficulty, but what are the issues with difficulties within games? I've got a few examples which come to mind. I've only got one case, admittedly, when I feel a game being too easy has caused a negative effect. That being the Pokemon games as of late. Pokemon X and Y and Pokemon Sun and Moon, from what I've played of Sun and Moon, because I still haven't finished that, been busy with other things, and I got bored of it. The problem with X and Y and Sun and Moon is they're not challenging. They are very easy games. X and Y was really easy for the most part. The first sort of 3 gyms part up to there, that was a decent enough challenge. But towards the end, particularly when you got to the Elite Four, with Pokemon and me maxed out at that point, and with how pathetic the gym leaders are, Pokemon X and Y was ridiculously easy. It was really easy to level, it was really easy to get healing items, and very few opponents actually brought a challenge. Pokemon Sun and Moon has had a similar problem. In particular, my gripe with it is that barely anyone has any Pokemon. Almost every trainer has only 1 or 2 Pokemon. I think I've only once encountered a trainer in that game, to the point I've gone to, which I'm on the 3rd island, where a trainer actually had 4 Pokemon. That is ridiculous. I am slaughtering them all. And it's not even, even the Z-moves thing. Charger Bug tanks every Z-move in the game. It just does not affect the fella. So even when they tried to provide difficulty with, this trainer has a Z-move on him, it's like he's only got 2 Pokemon. Or when Hal comes up, he's got 3 Pokemon. It's not that much of a threat, particularly when high horsepower kills everything. And on that aspect, Pokemon and me in Pokemon Sun and Moon was made broken. It pops up all the time, so it's hard to avoid it. And I feel it's a lot more effective than it was in, say, Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire. I had that maxed by only the end of the game, but in Pokemon Sun and Moon, because of it, them bringing it up every time you win a match, because for some reason my pony needs cleaning from mud, my donkey needs cleaning from mud, despite it being a ground type, so it should always be in the mud. It, maxed out the friend Ami almost immediately, and the Ami has been so effective. My Lamantis, I can't remember off the top of my head, Lip I called her, off of Penalty Pond's main protagonist. She basically gets a critical hit every time. That's in part because of the scope lens, but because of maxing out Pokemon Ami, critical hit 24/7. It's wonderful, but it also makes things ridiculously easy. And when it gets that easy, there's no fun in it. You're just slaughtering everything on a constant basis. I ended up stopped playing Pokemon Moon because it was just boring in the end. I was slaughtering everything. Pokemon almost came close to addressing this issue. In Black and White 2, they actually included a hard mode, but they included it in such a way that you needed to complete the game and then trade over the hard mode difficulty, so you could never do it from the get-go, and so I've never got to experience it. Notably because I owned the one which gave you the easy mode option instead. Who needs to make Pokemon easier? It's already ridiculously easy. Heck, in Pokemon Sun and Moon, they keep giving you thousands of healing items and healing your pie before fight. No! Put me at a disadvantage. I am murdering you constantly. On the opposite end of the scale, you got games which get too ridiculously hard. One example, Bayonetta 1. Now, this isn't hard in the way I'm going to sort of say it's hard. It's not hard for me to have sort of completed a level in Bayonetta. In Bayonetta 1, I've only played for like the first 3 levels, admittedly. But my problem with the Bayonetta's difficulty is the difference between easy and normal mode, as well as accomplishing the rewards at the end of a level. I've been able to play in normal mode just fine in terms of completing a level. My problem is that getting hit even just like 2 times is enough to bring me down from a gold or platinum or silver ranking to just bronze or a participation medal. I can avoid not dying throughout the entire thing and complete the level, but the normal difficulty has it so that I still don't get even a silver. That should be easily accomplished. Getting hit once or twice apparently, no silver medal. Meanwhile, easy mode makes it too easy because suddenly you don't have to actually purposely follow up your attacks with a shot. Bayonetta does it automatically, and that makes it too easy. There's too much of a difference between the difficulty balance of easy and normal mode. And it's really annoying in the normal mode, not so much in not being able to beat the levels in normal mode, but not being able to get at least a decent score with it. What a game I feel did this far better was another Platinum game, Wonderful 101. Where the easy and normal mode is not a huge leap in difficulty. I can go normal mode sometime with it, and sometimes I can go easy mode. And I feel that in normal mode, I can always at least sort of earn a silver medal without having to worry about not avoiding every single attack in the entire game, which is a ridiculous requirement because sometimes that camera angle gets in the way. But Wonderful 101, I felt, improved upon the difficulty balance. Maybe that's something that Platinum Games learned from Bayonetta. The easy and normal mode was too big of a jump. Difficulty spikes are annoying, particularly in the difficulty options. Another game which was ridiculous in its difficulty, Ninja Gaiden 3 Razor's Edge. And that was ridiculous for a couple reasons. One of them being the fact that the first mission is one of the hardest things to do with Ryu because the mini-boss of it is a tank spider thing and Ryu is too slow. You do the sort of side mission instead as Kazumi, for instance, and you can slaughter that. I slaughtered that tank easily. It barely was a struggle. But playing as Ryu, he's a lot slower than Kazumi, and I struggled for ages on that mini-boss. When I got to the boss of the first level, I slaughtered it because it wasn't as hard as the tank. Likewise, there was a dinosaur boss. That wasn't hard. That was just frustrating because he had such a large health bar and it got really boring. That's kind of the problem. You can end up making a game so hard that you end up making it boring. You give it too large of a health bar, like with, say, Dragon Ball Xenoverse 1, or give it too much super armor, so it just takes forever to kill. Furthermore, the way the enemies fight can end up leading to the only way to effectively win being hit and run tactics. And a hit and run isn't a fun way to doing it. If you're only getting 1 or 2 hits and then having to run away throughout most of it and dodging half the time, that's not so fun. It's fun if, say, you get to pull off a combo and you see that your enemy's about to prepare a counter, so you have to stop your combo, dodge, wait, sort of dodge the attack, do a different combo, and then, for a brief period of duration, have to run away for a bit for certain events. But having to just constantly do that, only peppering 1 or 2 hits and then running away, that's just no fun. And oh gosh, they added in the fights, the Ayane missions, which is basically let's just throw as many boss characters at you at once. And thanks to the camera angle and the fact you're fighting multiple enemies, it is so frustratingly difficult because you can't see them. You can't dodge or counter what you can't see, and the sound coordination isn't very helpful for that either. And it's so annoying because you have to do the Ayane missions to progress. They weren't even part of the original Ninja Gaiden 3. So yeah, difficulty can be a frustrating thing, and it's a very hard thing to get right. When you get it right, though, and include the options of difficulty modes of easy, normal, and hard, and make them feel proper balanced in terms of the spikes between them, you don't want them to spike too much because otherwise the normal mode will become too hard and the easy mode will be too easy, and that's no fun. Trying to nail it just right is a very difficult thing, particularly that people are of all different skill levels. But when you do nail it just right, it's wonderful. You get it easy enough to get newcomers and kids into the game, and you end up bringing a challenge to it so the older players have a lot of fun. One of the games which has perfected this, in my opinion, is the Kirby series. The cool gameplay of Kirby has the odd challenging moment, but is generally easy enough to play through without much trouble. And then they give you the harder mode, and then they give you the boss arenas, and those are insanely difficult towards the end. And It provides an easy gameplay which you're able to complete, and accessible enough for younger players and newcomers, but ends up afterwards rewarding you with enough challenging stuff to do. You get to experience the entire story, but you can experience a lot of extra features from being able to complete those even more challenging things that you get rewarded with at the end. Kirby is in my opinion, the best example of difficulty balance ever made. It is wonderful. Okay, I've pretty much said all I wanted to. I am going to try out this strange, bizarre concoction I've made. It's supposed to be passion, but I'm not feeling very passionate about it. 3, 2, 1... Thank you very much, dogs. Oh, it tastes nice, but I feel something is off. That's probably the milk. It feels like it could taste nice, but there's just something wrong with it. I gotta try this again without milk. It's potentially a nice tea, but it's certainly got a nice flavour to it, but then it kind of makes me feel weird, which is probably the milk there. That milk was definitely not a good idea. So yeah, you'll probably see passion pop up in another tea time. Got a little bit of it left, and I got to record this in my tea book, really. In any case, those are my thoughts on the issue of difficulty in video games. I could probably go a bit more in depth with it, but I wanted this as a short tea time. It's a bit of an emergency tea time to upload. I hope you enjoyed, and if you wish to share your thoughts on the issue of difficulty in video games, how this might be addressed and all that, feel free to share them in the comments below. I always check up on the comments whenever they pop up. Thank you for listening, and cheerio, everyone!